Hi everyone, Amber here from So Majestic. Thank you again for joining me. We are on month 9 of Cotton Cut's Spring 2023 Village Green Puzzle Mystery Quilt. As always, I am sewing up the small cornflower, and I can't believe it's month 9. It's our last month before we finally put everything together. So thank you to Cotton Cuts for allowing me to be an ambassador. I am enjoying it so much. This month, we are sewing up this beautiful piece, and it really comes together so nicely, so quickly. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to back my quilt with. I think I'm going to do Minky. So let me know in the comments what colorway you're doing and what you're going to use for the back of your quilt. I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, so I have my Cornflower colorway card here. As always, I'm sewing up the small size, and I have our instructions. We are already on month 9. I cannot believe that next month we put our quilt together. So for this month, we have 2 pieces of the same section. I will be sewing up one of them for the video. And as always, down here where it says pieces in the pack, I have my pieces laid out already. That makes it easier for me to put everything together. So let's get going. So for our first step in month 9, we need 2, well, we're making 4 of these blocks. So I'm going to make 2 for the video. So I need 2 of my large F squares. And we are going to join a small piece C to the top right and the bottom left. So I always lay my pieces out and then I flip them over. That way I sometimes get confused and I can mix them up. This way makes it much easier. I know exactly which way I need to put them together. And I'm going to chain piece these since they are the same exact thing. Just make it a bit easier for me. And as always, I sew exactly a 1/4 inch. I do not do a scant. As long as you keep your seam allowance even, your blocks will turn out fine. They might not measure the exact size, but I honestly do not ever measure mine or worry about them. They always come together perfect. And we are pressing our seams towards each of the smaller piece C triangles. So that is the green triangle if you are also doing the cornflower colorway. And now we are going to piece the opposite. And again, I'm going to chain stitch these. And I like chain stitching them because my first piece, sometimes it will act like a leader, so then I'm not even using any scrap fabric if my presser foot and needle like to push the fabric down. Okay, and again, we are pressing these towards the outside triangles we just added. All right, and then our second part, we are going to add to the top left and the bottom right of our same F square. So we are going to repeat the same exact process. And again, I still like to lay them out. And your pieces are all die cut, so they should line up perfectly still, even with your seam allowances. And then again, we are pressing them open towards the triangle. I like to give the back a press first to kind of set the seam. And I'm very careful not to pull on the seams while I'm pressing or while I'm opening up the fabric. That will warp your blocks. Okay, and then our last step, we are adding our bottom triangle. And you can clip these. When I don't have a whole bunch of pieces coming together, I just sometimes like to line them up. And I always trim my threads as close as I can while I'm pulling it off the sewing machine, so I do not have to do that step later. Oh, that one was hiding. Okay, and again, pressing that triangle open. And I'm gonna set the blocks, both of them aside once this one is pressed. And now we are on step 2. So for this, I need to be a little bit mindful because my colors are very similar, especially fabric A and fabric D. So for step 2, we are attaching an A triangle, which is my lighter gray, to a D triangle. And we are going to do 2 of them if you're making both blocks, so I'm only doing 1 for this. I'm going to line them up. And we are pressing towards our D triangle. So for me, that is the darker gray to the right. So I'm going to gently open them up. Okay, and set that aside for just a moment, because step 3, we are going to do the same idea, the same steps, but different fabrics. So for this one, we need a triangle B, which is the white fabric for me, and a triangle D, which is the darker gray with almost like the gold fleck in it. Right, and again, I'm going to take my time to line these up. And again, we are pressing towards our D triangle to the right. Okay, so now we are on step 4. So we need to join our step 2 and our step 3. So for this, our B triangle is going to be on the top, pointing downwards, and B is my white fabric. And our A triangle is going to be on the bottom, pointing up, which is that lighter gray for me. And for this one, I'm actually going to clip it together, because what I'm going to do first is I'm going to line up my centers, and our seams are pressed in the opposite direction, so they should nest beautifully. So I'm going to clip that first and then line up the rest of my block, which should line up pretty evenly as long as your seam allowance was fairly even. But it's most important for my centers to match up to me. That's how you get those nice points. Okay. And we are pressing our seams towards the right, which is our BD triangle. So again, I'm gently going to fold that open. With all these triangles, there's definitely some bias here, which makes it really easy to stretch. So I'm making sure that I am not tugging. And because there's so many seams coming together, I'm just taking an extra moment to really put some heat on these to help the block lay flat. Okay, and you can see that I took that time to match up the center so the points line up perfectly. And now for our last step, we are joining the 2 blocks that we made in step 1 to the left and the right of the block that we just made. And you want to make sure that your B triangle is on top, the A is on the bottom, and the 2 Ds are on the left and right. So for me, that B block that is white, or triangle, is on top. So I'm going to start with one side, and there is a point here, but there's no point on this side. So I'm not going to center anything or any seams. I'm just going to line them up evenly. And I know sometimes in videos things can look like so perfect. So I want to show you, see on this side, my triangle from the back, it kind of pokes up a little bit. So on this side, this is what it looks like. I just tried to match it up across, and I'm gonna hide that in the seam allowance. So I'm gonna do my 1/4 inch seam from the gray. So if yours do not line up perfectly, like, don't stress about it. You can hide it in the seams. And for these, we are pressing our seams towards the center. So I'm going to press my seam first, and then gently open this. And then you can see that it lines up really well. And we are going to repeat the process for the left side. Now that these blocks are a little bit bigger, now I definitely use the clips. I cut that one a little too short, so let me rethread this real quick. Alright, and then again, this is getting pressed towards the center. So I am going to press my back first and then open it up. And I try to press it and flatten it as best as I can. All right, so this is month 9. You should have 2 of these, and I definitely recommend labeling them like I usually say, because next month we are putting it all together. All right, we have finished month 9. Let me know what you think of the video. I'd love you to subscribe or like. I'm also sewing up the fall carnival, so let me know if you're following along on that, and definitely stay tuned. Cotton Cuts is going to be releasing the new theme and colorways coming very soon for next year, so I definitely want to know your thoughts and what you're going to be choosing, and I'll see you next month when we put our whole quilt together. Bye.